Mettlesome as adjective. Brave, courageous, and bold, having an unshaken spirit and a willingness to face challenges, full of spirit, energy, and determination. The mettlesome racehorse surged ahead of the pack to win the race. Despite his small size, the terrier was a mettlesome defender of his home. The mettlesome athlete was determined to win, even after a serious injury. The soldier's mettlesome bravery in the face of danger earned him a Medal of Honor. The politician's mettlesome persistence eventually led to the passage of the bill. Misanthrope as noun, a person who dislikes or distrusts humankind and avoids human society, someone who holds a negative attitude towards others and is cynical about human nature. Despite her outwardly friendly demeanor, she was secretly a misanthrope. He was known to be a misanthrope and rarely interacted with others. The character in the play was a misanthrope who despised all of humanity. Many people mistakenly believe that misanthropes are simply introverted or shy. The famous philosopher was often described as a misanthrope due to his pessimistic views on human nature. Mordant as verb. To treat a material such as fabric or paper with a substance that will fix or set dyes or pigments on it. The dye was mordanted to make it more permanent. The fabric was mordanted before dyeing. The metal plate was mordanted before etching. The paper was mordanted before printing. The artist mordanted the fabric to prepare it for dyeing. Mordant as noun. A substance used in dyeing to fix the dye onto the fabric and make it resistant to fading or washing. The chemist studied the properties of mordants. The mordant is used in the textile industry to dye fabrics. The artist used a mordant to etch the design onto the metal plate. The printer used a mordant to make the ink adhere to the paper. The archaeologist found evidence of ancient mordant use in the ruins. Mordant as adjective. It can refer to a person who is prone to making cutting or biting remarks or criticisms. Describe something that is caustic, biting, or sarcastic in tone or nature. The comedian's mordant humor made the audience uncomfortable. The writer's mordant wit made his book a bestseller. The critic's mordant reviews were feared by the movie industry. The politician's mordant remarks caused controversy and backlash. The teacher's mordant sarcasm discouraged his students. Nonplussed as adjective. Confused and unsure of how to react or respond. Unimpressed or not surprised by something that would normally be considered unusual or unexpected. He was nonplussed by the unexpected turn of events. She appeared nonplussed when I told her the news. The judge was nonplussed by the defendant's explanation. I was completely nonplussed by the instructions. The professor was nonplussed by the student's question. Presentiment as noun. A feeling or impression that something, especially something bad, is going to happen. An intuitive feeling or instinct about future events or circumstances. The traveler had a presentiment that something was wrong with his flight, which turned out to be delayed. The mother had a presentiment that her child was in danger and rushed to the playground to find them hurt. The actor had a presentiment that he would get the part in the movie, which turned out to be true. The athlete had a presentiment that she would break the world record, which she did the following day. The investor had a presentiment that the stock market would crash, which he acted on and saved his fortune. Protean as adjective. Having the ability to change or alter one's form or appearance, especially in a flexible or fluid manner. Highly versatile, adaptable, or changeable. Able to take on many different forms or roles. The artist's style was protean, constantly shifting and evolving over time. The company's product line was protean, with new items added and old ones retired every season. The political landscape was protean, with alliances and loyalties constantly changing. His protean personality made it difficult for others to get a sense of who he really was. The disease had a protean presentation, with symptoms that varied widely from person to person. Soporific as adjective, having a calming or tranquilizing effect, causing drowsiness or sluggishness, inducing or tending to induce sleep. The soporific effects of the medication made her feel drowsy. The professor's soporific lecture put most of the students to sleep. The book's soporific prose made it difficult to stay engaged. The repetitive nature of the job was soporific and tedious. The music had a soporific quality that helped her relax. Soporific as noun, a sleep-inducing agent such as a sedative or hypnotic, a substance or drug that induces sleep or drowsiness. She took a soporific to help her fall asleep. The doctor prescribed a soporific for his patient's insomnia. The soporific had a calming effect on her anxiety. The soporific was effective in treating his chronic pain. The use of soporifics in the treatment of mental illness is controversial. Stalwart as adjective, loyal and dedicated to a cause, organization, or person, strong and dependable, especially in times of difficulty or adversity. The stalwart supporter never wavered in his loyalty. The team's stalwart defense held off the opponent's attack. The stalwart soldier remained committed to his duty. The company's stalwart CEO led the company through tough times. The community was grateful for the stalwart volunteers who helped during the crisis. Stultify as verb, to cause to lose energy or effectiveness, to impede or hinder progress. The boring lecture stultified the audience. His lack of creativity stultified the project. The strict rules stultified the team's creativity. The teacher's monotone voice stultified the students' interest. The bureaucratic procedures stultified the progress of the project. Sullen as adjective, bad-tempered and sulky, showing a mood of silent disapproval, gloomy and ill-natured, morose. The sullen teenager refused to speak to his parents after they grounded him. The sullen expression on her face indicated that she was unhappy. The room was filled with a sullen silence after the argument. The sullen weather matched the mood of the residents in the town. The sullen employee gave short answers during the meeting with his boss. Sybarite as noun, a person who indulges in sensual pleasures and luxuries, a person who is devoted to luxury and pleasure. The billionaire was a sybarite who enjoyed only the finest things in life. After living in a tent for months, the traveler felt like a sybarite when he checked into the luxurious hotel. The restaurant catered to sybarites with its expensive menu and elegant decor. The writer's depiction of the sybarites in ancient Rome painted them as decadent and debauched. The young actress was accused of being a sybarite when she demanded a private trailer on set. Taxing as verb, imposing a tax or duty on someone or something, making excessive or unreasonable demands on someone's physical or mental resources. Working two jobs is taxing on one's physical and mental health. The government's new policy is taxing on small businesses and startups. The teacher found it taxing to grade a large number of essays in a short amount of time. His parents' divorce was taxing on the teenager's emotional well-being. Training for a marathon can be taxing on one's endurance and stamina. Temperance as noun, abstinence from alcohol or other substances that have the potential to be addictive or harmful. Moderation or self-restraint in behavior, especially in regards to alcohol or other vices. The religious order vows to live a life of temperance, abstaining from all worldly pleasures. The doctor advised her patient to practice temperance in his diet and exercise routine. The community center hosted a workshop on the importance of temperance in maintaining a healthy lifestyle. The temperance movement of the late 19th century aimed to curb the consumption of alcohol in American society. The politicians spoke about the need for temperance in government spending, arguing for fiscal responsibility and restraint. Travail as noun, painful or laborious effort, hard work or toil, suffering or distress, especially in childbirth. The woman went through great travail during childbirth. The artist's creative process was full of travail and struggle. The construction workers endured many long hours of travail to finish the project on time. The political campaign was marked by the candidates' travail to gain support. The team's travail to come back from a large deficit resulted in a thrilling victory. Travail as verb, to engage in painful or laborious effort, to work hard or toil, to suffer or undergo distress, especially in childbirth. The athlete had to travail hard to overcome a recent injury. The author had to travail through many drafts to perfect her novel. The students travailed all night to finish their group project. The farmer had to travail in the fields to bring in the harvest before the weather turned. The mechanic travailed to fix the car engine before the customer's deadline. Travesty as noun, a false, absurd, or distorted representation of something, a grotesque or ridiculous imitation of something. The trial was a travesty of justice. The new building was a travesty of the surrounding architecture. The CEO's management style was a travesty of effective leadership. The political debate was a travesty of rational discourse. The comedian's act was a travesty of good taste. Travesty as verb, to imitate or represent something in a false, absurd, or distorted way, to turn something serious into a mockery or parody. The editor travestied the author's work by changing key plot points. The parody travestied the popular movie with exaggerated humor. The artist travestied the famous painting with a new comedic twist. The political commentator travestied the opposing party's platform to score points. The sketch comedy troupe travestied current events with biting satire. Travesty as adjective, a false, absurd, or distorted representation or imitation of something, a ludicrous or comically exaggerated version of something. The singer's performance was a travesty of the original song. The film adaptation was a travesty of the beloved book. The politician's proposal was a travesty of justice. The CEO's decision to lay off workers was a travesty of corporate responsibility. The restaurant's attempt at haute cuisine was a travesty of culinary art. Truculent as adjective, having a truncated shape or form, shortened or cut off. The truculent student refused to follow the rules. The truculent customer demanded a refund. The truculent protesters clashed with the police. The truculent boss made it difficult for employees to work. The truculent driver refused to yield to pedestrians. Behoove as verb, to be beneficial or advantageous for someone or something, to be necessary or appropriate for a particular purpose or situation. It behooves you to study hard if you want to pass the exam. It would behoove us to arrive early to secure good seats for the concert. It behooves the company to invest in new technology to stay competitive. It behooves us to save money for unexpected expenses. It behooves parents to monitor their children's online activity. Besmirch as verb, to defame or tarnish the reputation or integrity of someone or something, to sully or soil the good name or reputation of someone or something. The politician was accused of besmirching the reputation of his opponent with false allegations. He refused to besmirch his friend's name by spreading rumors about him. The journalist was criticized for besmirching the character of a public figure without proper evidence. The company was accused of besmirching the environment with its toxic waste disposal practices. She felt that her reputation had been besmirched by the malicious gossip of her colleagues. Burgeon as verb, to begin to grow or develop in a particular way, to grow or develop rapidly or vigorously. The city has burgeoned in recent years, with new buildings and businesses popping up all over. The plant started to burgeon after being watered regularly, sprouting new leaves and buds. The writer's career burgeoned after the publication of their first book, leading to numerous awards and accolades. The technology industry has burgeoned in the past decade, with new innovations and breakthroughs every year. The young artist's talent burgeoned after years of practice and dedication, leading to a successful career. Calumny as noun, a false and defamatory statement made about someone, the act of making false and defamatory statements in order to damage someone's reputation. The politician's opponents spread calumnies about them to damage their reputation. The employee was fired for spreading calumnies about their coworkers to management. The lawyer's accusations against the witness were calumnies with no basis in fact. The rumor that the actor was involved in a scandal was a calumny, with no evidence to support it. The lawsuit was filed in response to a calumny made by the defendant that caused harm to the plaintiff's reputation. Decimation as noun, the destruction or killing of a large part of a population or group, the reduction of something by a large amount or by a substantial proportion. The decimation of the rainforest has had a devastating impact on the planet's biodiversity. The army suffered decimation after the surprise attack by the enemy. The company's profits took a hit after the decimation of their sales team. The decimation of the bee population is causing concern among environmentalists. The pandemic has led to the decimation of small businesses in many industries. Dolorous as adjective. Adjective meaning causing or characterized by pain or sadness, expresses a deep sense of mourning, sorrow, or unhappiness. The book's ending was particularly dolorous, leaving readers with a feeling of despair. The dolorous melody of the song conveyed a sense of mourning and loss. The actor's dolorous performance moved the audience to tears. The sound of the wind was dolorous as it blew through the empty streets. The painter used dolorous colors and brushstrokes to create a somber atmosphere in her artwork. Effrontery as noun, arrogance or audacity in violating social norms or rules, impudence or boldness in offending others. The politician's effrontery knew no bounds, as she made promises she had no intention of keeping. I couldn't believe his effrontery when he asked me to lend him money after not speaking to me for years. The customer had the effrontery to demand a refund, even though he had clearly damaged the product himself. The actress had the effrontery to arrive 3 hours late to the shoot, holding up the entire production. The student's effrontery in copying another's work, without even attempting to change it, earned him a failing grade. Egotist as noun, a person who is excessively self-centered and obsessed with their own interests, abilities, and achievements, someone who thinks highly of themselves and displays an exaggerated sense of self-importance. The athlete's egotism was so extreme that she refused to take part in team events and always insisted on being the center of attention. The CEO was a notorious egotist, taking credit for the company's successes and blaming others for its failures. The author's work was often criticized for being too self-centered, leading some to label him an egotist. His constant bragging and self-promotion earned him the reputation of being an egotist among his peers. The politician was accused of being an egotist for putting his own interests ahead of those of his constituents. Enervate as verb, to make someone feel drained or exhausted, to reduce or weaken energy, vitality, or strength. The hot weather had a tendency to enervate even the most active individuals. The repetitive nature of the job can enervate workers, leading to burnout. The disease left her feeling enervated and weak. The constant stress of the situation began to enervate his spirit. The long journey enervated the travelers, leaving them exhausted. Hoodwink as verb: to deceive or trick someone by misleading them, to impose upon or deceive someone by playing on their ignorance, credulity, or simplicity. The spy hoodwinked the enemy by providing false information. The scammer hoodwinked the elderly woman into giving him her life savings. The politician hoodwinked the public by making false promises during the election. The salesperson hoodwinked the customer by selling him a faulty product. The magician hoodwinked the audience with his illusions and tricks. Iconoclast as noun: a person who attacks or undermines traditional religious icons or political institutions, a person who challenges established beliefs or institutions. The artist was considered an iconoclast for his unconventional approach to art. The writer was seen as an iconoclast for her controversial opinions. The scientist was an iconoclast who challenged traditional theories. The rebel leader was an iconoclast who fought against the established government. The politician's ideas were often considered iconoclastic. Lionize as verb: to make someone famous or popular through excessive admiration and praise, to treat someone as a celebrity or hero, to admire and praise excessively. The media often lionizes successful entrepreneurs and business leaders. Fans of the rock star would often lionize him and treat him like a god. The Nobel Prize is often used to lionize important scientists and researchers. The author's works have been lionized as some of the greatest literature of the century. The politician's supporters would often lionize him as the solution to all their problems. Machinate as verb: to plan or devise, especially in a complex or sinister way, to plot or scheme, often in a secretive or malicious manner. The corrupt officials were caught in the act of machinating a scheme to embezzle public funds. The CEO was accused of machinating a plan to monopolize the industry and put smaller companies out of business. The political party was accused of machinating a plot to rig the elections and remain in power. The disgruntled employees were found to be machinating a plan to sabotage the company's operations in order to seek revenge. The spy agency was suspected of machinating a plot to overthrow the foreign government and install a puppet regime. Malapropism as noun: a speech error in which an absurd or incongruous word is used in place of a similar sounding word. The act of using an incorrect word in place of a similar sounding word, often with humorous effect. Her frequent use of malapropisms during her speeches made her the subject of ridicule among her colleagues. In the play, the character's malapropisms provided much-needed comic relief. He often confused similar-sounding words, resulting in unintentional malapropisms that left his audience puzzled. The politician's malapropism during the televised debate became an instant viral sensation on social media. The newspaper column was filled with malapropisms and grammatical errors, much to the dismay of the editor.